the 2018 Golf GTI in black and a couple of friends inspecting it. Very muscular looking car, really love the red trim, goes really well with the black, and the red trim goes right through the front lights, and that's something I haven't seen before, and neither has she. Very impressive. Alloys, again combination of black and silver, with the red calipers, really does set the colour off. And internally this one comes with black leather with, again, red trim, red stitching, and these little red polka dots all the way through. Very handsome dashboard, certainly compared to other Golfs I've seen. I've never really been a fan of the Golfs. And the rear view again with the double exhausts, does look very handsome. At least she thinks so. So you can select Sport, Normal or Eco on this touchscreen, and it's quite interesting to see what happens when you select either of those. So if I go into here, the steering is in normal mode in Eco. Drive is Eco, so obviously longer gears, changes gears a little bit quicker. Differential lock is normal. If I was to now change over to normal mode and have a quick look at that, it's all normal. And once again into Sport, and here we go. The steering, a lot more responsive. The drive, well, it's a sporty drive. Effectively what you're getting is the gears are held on for just a little bit longer. The throttle's a lot more responsive. And the interesting bit is the front differential lock. So that's in sport mode, and what that means is basically as you go around the bend, the outer wheel, that tends to get just a little bit more power. So effectively what the car's doing is kind of dragging you around the corner. So it's almost like assisted steer. I think that's probably the best way to look at it. So the other thing, I guess, is having it in sporty mode, you tend to get just a little bit more raughtiness from the exhaust, and that's fairly obvious coming into the cabin. I don't know whether they've done something to artificially create this noise, or whether it's actually the genuine engine noise that we're getting, but it does sound rather good. So here's us taking off in sport mode. We'll do exactly the same again in normal or Eco, and the whole thing is a little bit subdued. And the engine sounds okay, so there's still a bit of raspiness to the engine, but it's just a little bit calmer. Thanks, Anna. Right, so this is the 2018 Golf GTI. The version that I've got is one up from the 230 brake horsepower standard car. So this one here is a 245 brake horsepower machine. I'm not entirely sure what the tweaks are, but I do know that there is a difference to be felt between the two versions. I'm just going to put it into sport mode where it already was and have an attempt at doing launch control. To do launch control, going to turn the traction control off completely. Okay, foot on the foot brake, get the revs up high. So there you are, launch control program active, get the revs to around 3000 revs and go. Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin. Okay, it's about 60 when we hit the bend. The car's actually really nice through the bends. I've not really been a fan of Golf GTIs because certainly the ones I've driven have been going back to around the 2004, and they were too heavy, too soft, too sloppy, and this is the first time I've driven a Golf since, and it feels really nice. Very impressed with the fact that the steering is nice and meaty, but at the same time with front wheel drive cars, when you really give it a bit of welly, you do tend to get the steering wheel kind of fighting you. This doesn't happen. The additional thing that I found out this has got is a clever diff. So the front diff, when you're going around the bend, so as we're now taking a bend towards the left, the outer wheel, so this is the wheel on the right, if it senses a bit of scrabble, this would actually start getting a little bit more power, so that it actually pulls you around the bend. So I was saying, I've driven the car for about 200 miles. It's been a mixture of urban, rural and motorway driving, and it's perfectly comfortable, perfectly suitable as a motorway cruiser. And then certainly around the country roads, it comes into its own, very agile, very nice. The suspension isn't overly hard, it's nice and supple. It does get a little bit annoying if it's in sport mode when you're driving around town though. So when you're driving around town, for example, it's just a case of dropping it back into either normal or eco. And the behaviour of the car changes completely. It could be any other Golf. How does it end up?